There are times when it can seem like you are never going to find anything at charity shops, but then there are times when you find everything. And this, folks, is why I love charity shop hunting.
Pick up! Building the game's worth! Rush trips! Live game hunting!
Oh yeah!
Hello again, folks, and welcome back to another live game hunting video. And one of my very favourite places to game hunt is always the charity shops. That's because you never know when you're going to come across an absolutely amazing deal. And this is the thing with the charity shops. So many times you can go in and find absolutely nothing, but every so often you'll get that one deal that makes it all worthwhile. And this time that happens a few times. But one of these times is one of the best charity shop finds I've ever found. Trust me, it's all about being in the right place at the right time. We're going to be hitting up tons of charity shops this time, but one charity shop I just keep scoring in at the moment is my local recycling centre. I don't know what it is about this place, but nearly every time I go in there I find something awesome. I go in there at least once a week, so we are going to be revisiting there a couple of times this episode. We're going to visit some other towns as well as an amazing local independent game shop. Let's get hunting. Just before we head out on the hunt, I just want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. Now, let's get charity shop hunting. Here we go then, our first trip to the recycling centre this time, and the first thing I saw as I walked in the door was this absolutely amazing record player. This thing is an absolute piece of retro beauty. Unfortunately, I have no idea where I'd actually put this. It wouldn't fit in with the decor of the games room, so I did pass up, but for 40 quid was absolutely amazing. I always have a look in here, see if they have any CRT TVs. Yes, this is a CRT TV, but I've never seen a TV like this. I've no idea. I guess it's a very old portable TV. £45, let me know in the comments, would you have picked this up? It's an oddity for sure. But it's not just retro TVs they have here, they also have some kind of getting retro consoles, such as this Xbox 360 for 50 quid with a copy of Black Ops and I think a FIFA game hiding in there as well. They also had this PlayStation 3 console, but it was just a console only. But the thing is, you do get these pat tested, which can be a little bit of an advantage. And you know, at the end of the day, at least if you're buying from here, you know they are tested. They do have like a fair selection of consoles. They're often in here. I've never seen one like this in here before. I did pass up for £10, as I'm more kind of anything kind of pre-8-bit I'm not really too interested in. But taking a look through here, because they will literally sell any kind of old electronics, they're all pat tested. But something I've never looked into before is graphics cards. Like, this was 50 quid, but the problem is I know nothing about graphics cards. I don't know if this is a good graphics card. I know some of them can command a really high price, but I'm just not really an expert on PC gaming, or especially PC building. So let me know in the comments down below, is it worth keeping an eye out for graphics cards, and should I have grabbed this for 50 quid? Let me know in the comments down below. This recycling centre has a really eclectic mix of things, but when I saw this 300 The Art of the Movie art book for just £2, I knew I had to pick this up. Mainly I would normally just buy strategy guides or video game art books, but for £2 I think this hardback art book is definitely worth picking up. But let me know in the comments down below, would you have grabbed this for £2? Now, I have seen this Star Wars X-Wing drone loads of times at toy conventions and in high-end toy shops, but for £60, I don't think I would take the risk on this when it's not tested. It is incredibly cool, but let me know, if you are more of a gambler than I am, would you have picked this up for £60? To me, I think it looked like it just needed charging, but I didn't really know enough about this item to take the risk on a £60 bet. But let me know, would you have done it? Moving towards the fabled video game shelf, I saw this pile of Games Trademark magazine. Now, I like picking up these kind of gaming magazines because if nothing else, it's cheaper than buying them in the shops, and most of the time when I'm looking for retro stuff, it doesn't really matter if it's not a current issue. I've never heard of this magazine. I was quite tempted to pick up this launch edition copy of the Xbox One, but I did pass up on these. But let me know, do you collect retro gaming magazines? I kind of, when I go for retro gaming magazines, I'll go proper retro rather than this generation. But here we go, the fabled DVD and game shelf, and straight away we found Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. Now, all of the games in this shop are £1. This one would have cost £5 in CX, and I'm happy to pick some of these games up for £1 because I have said it multiple times. Now is the time to buy the Xbox 360, and if I can add games to my library for just £1 each, that is what I'm going to do. And places like charity shops, car boots, recycling centres, these are the places to pick up these Xbox 360 games. Like Need for Speed Undercover, again, another £5 game or a £3 trade-in in CX. And when I can pick up these games for £1, I'm going to build my library as much as humanly possible, because I think the price of Xbox 360 games is as low as it's going to get at the moment. You know, I don't think you can get any cheaper than £1 each. Obviously, you can go 50p each, but £1 for a game is fantastic. So whether you are looking to build your Xbox 360 library or to make some CX credit, trust me, check your charity shops and car boots now, and let's get on it. So that was the first trip to the recycling centre in this episode, but don't worry, we'll be heading back. But this time we are on the road to Thetford and hitting up a charity shop just on the outskirts. Now, this charity shop always has a really good selection of games, but the problem is they're normally fairly highly priced. Like, I do not blame these charity shops trying to make a profit, but sometimes these games are like £3 or £4 when they are £1 or 50p in CX. Like, obviously I'd rather give my money to charity, but if they're charging £8 for an MXGP game on the Xbox 360, it's probably going to sit on those shelves for ages. Like, £3 for Grand Theft Auto 5, it just seems some of these prices don't make any sense. Like, on the top shelf here we have some Xbox One games, and £5 for the greatest driving game of all time, at me in the comments all you want, is an absolute bargain. Like, but Destiny 2 sealed for £8 is not. It's just, I understand that obviously these charity shops can't know all those prices, but it's definitely worth doing a little bit of research, especially if you're charging a premium for games. Moving on to the next charity shop, and it's a real shame that the price of Modern Warfare 3 has absolutely dropped trading in the CX, as this store had 3 copies. They had some other interesting games in here, but nothing too much to write home about. It's just a case of, if you are trading in games at CX, you need to keep an eye on those trade-in prices, as if you can pick these games up cheap and trade them in, it's kind of rude not to. But sticking on the high street and heading to the next charity shop, the next one is Wood Green, just up the road, and this is also next door to the British Heart Foundation. In here, slim pickings unfortunately on the games. Copies of Wii Fit for £2 and also FIFAs for a couple of quid. At the end of the day, I know it's not terrible prices, but I do wonder what is going to happen to all these copies of FIFA and all these Wii Fit games, as I just feel like they're going to sit on the shelf. Would you pick up the Xbox One or Xbox 360 copy of FIFA? Let me know in the comments down below. Next charity shop, and whenever I see a pile of Nintendo DS games, I will always check them just in case, because you never know, one day it might actually happen. There might be a Pokemon game. Nothing really to write home about here. Some PC games, some Wii shovelware, some Platinum games for the PlayStation 2, and also this copy of Tiger Woods for the original Xbox. If this had been cheap, I might have picked it up. But some of these sports games to pick up for the original Xbox, you can normally pick up cheaper at car boots. Going through some of the DVDs here, and I always check some of these box sets. I was quite tempted to pick up this copy of The Nightmare on Elm Street for £2.50, but it did have a disc missing. This would have traded in for a little bit more at CX, but it just goes to show you have to kind of keep an eye on some of these box sets. This one you should trade in for a lot more, I'm pretty sure. Sadly now it has absolutely dropped. I did check these other box sets, but unfortunately nothing's taken CX in this charity store. Next town along, we're in Attleborough, once again hitting up the charity shops. This time straight to the games section. A couple of DS games, but unfortunately these were all shovelware, and a couple of PlayStation 4 games, but unfortunately these were both FIFAs, and strangely both the same FIFA, like the limited edition and the normal edition. I'm not going to be picking up FIFAs anytime soon, so I did decide to pass on them. The box sets are individually priced as well, which you hate to see. I like to just see kind of a blanket price on games. Going through a couple of games down here, there was a couple of games for the PlayStation 2. Was quite interested in picking up Battlefield 2, I think, which is a real underrated game, but I did decide to pass on it. It's one of those games you can probably pick up super cheap in CX. After cleaning up the mess I made in the charity shop, yes, I cleared it up, don't get me in the comments. I did have a quick look at this PC copy of Prey. I thought this was quite interesting. I thought it might have had a steelbook inside, but Normally when it comes to PC games, I do pass on these. I don't really collect them, and obviously the kind of thing is with a lot of these, when the licenses run out, you can't actually play them. I think that's why so many charity shops have copies of The Sims in. But moving on to the next charity shop, and finally I managed to find something. This was a really long turn without finding anything, like all day in Thetford, then all day going through Attleborough, and finally in the final shop I found this copy of the Simpsons game for the Wii. Now I actually didn't realise I already had this in the collection. I did pick it up for £3 because it is quite an expensive game in CX. I did check to see if there's any other games, but just that one to pick up today, but at least I found something in the end. Round 2 at the local recycling centre, and sadly the pickings were a little bit slimmer this time, but it's not every day you see a PlayStation 4 game which isn't FIFA in the recycling centre. Fortunately it was Call of Duty, but that one still trades in for about £1.60, so making 60p profit isn't bad. Same with Need for Speed Underground. I obviously have this classic in my collection already. That one trades in for £2. I've been able to double up my money on that one, and also The Sims 2 isn't too bad a deal. This is the thing, sometimes it can feel like a bit of a slog at the charity shop, but at the end of the day, sometimes you do just have to trade games in for CX for twice what you paid for them. But at the end of the day, at least we're making credit to put towards that retro awesomeness. On to the next charity shop. The next town we're charity shop hunting in this time is North Walsham, and straight off the bat we found this WWE The Voices music CD. And who back in the day used to love these WWE The Music CDs? I just loved driving around to some of my favourite entrance musics. For 10p, this had to be picked up. Unfortunately, at the next shop, there was nothing really to write home about in the DVD section, which was a real shame, as all DVDs were £4 for £1. It's always worth searching, but more often than not, you're going to come up empty-handed. But here's something I don't see every day. 3DS games in the charity shop. Considering the 3DS digital store is closing soon, it would probably be worth picking these up, but they're not the most exciting games, like an art studio game for £3. I did check, this one does sell in CX for £2, so I did pass it up. A couple of PS3 games, but nothing really to write home about this time, unfortunately. You all probably know by now, I absolutely love these Paladone lights, so if I see one in the charity shop for under £2 and it is working, you know I'm picking this up to display on the games room shelf. Great little find here. On to the next charity shop, and with the obligatory wall of CDs and DVDs, there is this copy of You in the Movies for the Xbox 360. A very, very common game, but slightly less common to find in its box with the camera that you need for the game. A bit of a weird rarity. This one was a little bit damaged, so I did leave it behind. There was a few other games here, nothing too interesting to write home about, but cool to see something you don't see all the time. It may have been a bit of a wet and miserable weekend, but no trip to North Walsham is complete without a trip to Disc and Dat. And I just love these small independent game shops. You just find things you don't see all the time, like this PlayStation 2 Hits collection. Need for Speed 2 and Medal of Honor, two of the most iconic games on the PlayStation 2. I just love seeing different things like this, like having them in a sleeve is super cool. I did pass this one up, but it was a very cool little rarity to see on the shelf. The OG Xbox will always have a special place in my heart, as I think it was the first console I really collected for hardcore. I have nearly 500 games for this console now, but trust me, I ain't stopping anytime soon. If I see cheap games that I don't have for this console, or anything that interests me like this game Fireblade here, for £3, you know I'm picking this one up. It's such a fun console to collect for, and it's still fairly cheap at the moment. And this is why I love collecting for the OG Xbox. I knew this game Blazing Angels was on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, but I never knew it was on the original Xbox. Sometimes these games are a lot hard to get hold of because most people just buy them on the next gen. So when I saw a game I've never seen on the OG Xbox for just £3, one of my favourite kind of games of flight sims, I'm definitely going to pick it up. But without a doubt, one of the best things about Disc and Dat is their retro toys. They always have such a good collection of carded retro toys, and you just don't see it very often. They just have such a fun variety in here. You know, they have Star Trek, Simpsons, James Bond Jr., which was one of my favourite cartoons when I was younger. They just always have something new and interesting here, like these Batman figures. These are super cool. They're all reasonably priced as well. There's nothing that really jumped out to me this time. I was very, very tempted by this Mars Attacks figure because the Mars Attacks artwork is just absolutely fantastic. And the thing I really love about this is it comes with a floppy disk. This is from like the period in time when a floppy disk could like control the world. Like you had the nuclear launch codes and everything. Like again with Independence Day figures. These are fantastic. And again, that iconic floppy disk. The 90s definitely were a wild, wild time. All the way around Disc and Dat, I ummed and ahed about whether to pick this game up, and I decided I would pick it up in the end. If you've seen my video recently, I picked up the Asterix game for the Mars system, and It took me so long to find that game for my wife. I wanted to pick this one up for the Mega Drive the first time I saw it. Sadly, it didn't have a manual, but who knows when I see this game again, so I grabbed it for the collection. Here we go then, our third and final trip to the recycling centre, and we hit pay dirt. This box of Xbox 360 games must have just been donated, as it looked absolutely untouched. And the first thing I pull out, a brand new and sealed copy of Black Ops. Like, I'm not a massive collector of sealed games, as I'm a player of games, but if I can pick up a sealed copy of a classic game like Black Ops for £1, you know I'm picking it up. But just jumping in here, this is absolutely stacked with amazing titles, both to add to the collection and to trade into CX. And this is the beauty of the recycling centre. Every game is £1, and I have said it a million times already this year. Now is the time to collect for the Xbox 360, because you can go into charity shops all the time. You can find games like Red Dead Redemption to trade in to CX for in-store credit. You can pick up amazing games for your collection super cheap, like JRPGs, action games, first-person shooters. The Xbox 360 literally has everything, and this is the kind of thing you dream about finding when you go into a charity shop, because this is a realistic find. Any day you could go into a charity shop and find a massive box of Xbox 360 games, and it turns your day around. Like, you may be wondering why I'm wearing a pink shirt. I was just on the way back from work and stopped in here on the off chance. But this is the thing about charity shop hunting. You never know what's around the corner and when your luck's going to change and you hit absolute gold. It had already been an absolutely amazing day at the recycling centre. I look at that stack of Xbox 360 games I had found, but I wanted to push my luck. I wanted to see what else I could find. I went to this bookshelf. Yes, there was a lot of PC games. There was a lot of FIFAs. There was a lot of Wii shovelware, but you never know what is hiding on these shelves. So I went through some of these box sets. They weren't too great. Then I got myself to the Wii section. And the Wii section today had some really big surprises. And trust me, folks, do not sleep on Wii games. You can find some gems. Like this game, SSX Blur. Never heard of it. I realised they've released a couple of SSX games. I think this one must be exclusive to the Wii. For £1, definitely picking that up. Shaun White Skateboarding. For the Wii, the fun thing is, this uses the Wii balance board, so if for nothing else alone, that's a pickup. Some of these weirder games, like Alvin and the Chipmunks, maybe these games trade in for a little bit more. I was actually surprised how much this next game, Shrek Carnival Chaos, picks up for, but again, these are all £1, but this is the game that surprised me. I cannot believe how much this game is worth. What an absolutely amazing week of charity shop hunting that was, and there is just no better feeling than being in the right place at the right time. Being the first person to stumble across a box of games that has just been put out. And trust me, those Xbox 360 games were absolutely amazing. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it is the best feeling in the world. But we got some amazing pickups this time, so let's jump straight into them. First off, you saw me pick up the 300 Art of the Film art book. I wouldn't normally pick these up, but for £2 I thought it was kind of hard to pass this one up. I really enjoy collecting strategy guides and some of the hardback art books, and when I normally go for video games ones, 300 is an amazing film, and for £2 I think this was a really good deal. Here we have the first bundle of games I picked up from my local recycling plant. Trust me, I just keep scoring at this place, and the best thing about this place, all video games are always £1. So first up I got MotoGP 06 for the Xbox 360. Not the most exciting title, but for £1 in good condition I think it's worth picking up. Next up, Connect Sports Season 2. Now, I often see Connect Sports Season 1. I don't see this one as often. Again, it's not a megally highly priced game, but for £1 it's rude to pass up. Then a game I cannot believe I didn't have, once again for the Connect, Connectables. It is a very strange game. It's definitely one I don't think has aged very well, and it's an oddity. At the end of the day, they're the kind of games I love to have in the collection. And finally, talking of a game that was not well received, some may say the game that signalled the start of the death of Rare, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. This game gets a lot of hate, and I can understand a lot of that hate. But I don't know, I haven't played this game in absolute years, as I kind of went into playing the demo of it, and I felt like we'd all been deceived. This was not the Banjo-Kazooie game we were looking forward to, but let me know, it's probably been about 10 years since this game's released. Does it still hurt, or is this game now quite playable? The next run of charity shops I hunted through are sadly more what you'd normally expect from charity shops. You may go days or even weeks without finding absolutely anything, but you always have to hold out hope. That is why I was super happy right at the end of the hunt when I found the Simpsons game for the Nintendo Wii. Yes, this was £3. This game trades into CX for £5. If you bought it from CX, it's £8. Unfortunately, this is probably the least desirable of this game. Like, they did release it on the PlayStation 2, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and even the PSP, but this is one of those games that I think is going to go up in value, as this is still a really, really good, and dare I say, the best non-driving based Simpsons game possibly ever released. But let me know in the comments down below, what is your favourite Simpsons game that isn't the Simpsons Hit and Run? In my next little run of charity shops, I actually found a lot of the things that I just really enjoy about charity shop picking. The fact you can pick little kind of knickknacks up for the collection for very, very little cost. Such as this little Charizard figure. I don't know if it's a Happy Meal toy or one of the actual collectible figures. It's just a cool little display piece. You know, I have Pokemon stuff around the room, so I had to pick this up for 50p is a nice little bargain. But possibly my bargain of the week is WWE The Music Volume 9 Voices. I loved these WWE entrance theme CDs. They are absolutely fantastic. I think they have now finally died, unfortunately, as some of the entrances aren't even on iTunes anymore, which is just absolutely crazy. So Apple Music, as we call it now. But yeah, I picked this up for 10p, and if nothing else, driving around, blasting some of these on your stereo is just an absolute dream. And finally, the biggest pickup from the charity shops this time is this little Pac-Man Ghost Light. It is again by Paladone. It lights up. It was just £1.50. You know me by now. I love my lights around the games room. I love Paladone, and these are just 3 bits for under a £5 that are super cool to add to the collection. Whenever I go to North Walsham charity shop hunting, I always like to stop in Disc and Dat. I love supporting these local kind of game stores. I've picked up some amazing bits in there over the past year or so. I really wanted to pick up some bits for the OG Xbox. It's getting harder to collect for, so when I saw this game, Fireblade, for just £3, I knew I wanted to pick it up, because at the end of the day, if you can get games cheap now for the OG Xbox, now is the time to pick them up. I'm not really sure how much this game normally is, but for £3 it looks like a game I definitely want to jump into. Second game I picked up is Blazing Angels. I actually have this on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, but sometimes when games are released cross-gen, it's the older version of the game that is actually rarer. And again, for £3, I definitely wanted to pick this one up for the OG collection. If you saw my most recent episode of The Crazy World of CX, when we went to the Cambridge store, you will see that me and my wife found a game we've been looking for absolutely ages, Asterix on the Mars system. So when we saw Asterix and the Great Escape for the Mega Drive in really nice condition, we didn't want to pass it up. The artwork for this one is absolutely fantastic. Now unfortunately this one isn't complete, it is missing the manual, but we spent so long trying to find that last Asterix game. When we saw this one in Disc and Dat, we just thought, let's just grab it now. Finally this time, I could not believe my luck when I went to the recycling centre and there was literally a fresh box of Xbox 360 games sitting there untouched. One of the first games I had to grab was Red Dead Redemption. As I've said multiple times in this video, every game in the recycling centre is £1. To be able to pick this one up for £1, of course I have it in my collection, but I can trade it in to CX for £5. It is a nice easy flip to put towards credit to buy some more retro goodness. But of course I did not just buy games to flip in CX, I got an absolute stack of Xbox 360 games to add to the collection, because if I can get these for £1 each, now is the time. Trust me, the Xbox 360 is super cheap to collect for the moment, but it will not last forever, so grab these games while you can. The first game I picked up is Lightning Returns Final Fantasy. I picked this up for £1. This game sells in CX for £10, which is like absolutely fantastic. To pay a 10 for the price just shows why it's worth hunting in your local charity shops. Next up we have, I think whoever had this box of games was a massive RPG fan, by the way. We have The Last Remnant, a game I've never played, but again, for £1 it's definitely worth adding to the collection. Next up we have a game I originally played on PC, the Game of Thrones game. This one's still fairly expensive in CX, I think it's about a £5 or £6 game, so to pick this one up for £1 again is a really good deal. I know it trades in for £3, but don't have it in the collection, so adding it to the collection. Next up, an exclusive JRPG to the Xbox 360, The Last Remnant. Again, picking this one up for £1 is an absolute bargain. Now, next up, if you don't know, I'm a massive fan of Gears of War. I didn't have this variant, the Gears of War and Gears of War 2 bundle pack. Now, of course, I don't actually sell this one in CX because it is a bundle copy, but it does have both discs and also both booklets for both the games. So this is the kind of cool bits I like to add to my collection, the oddities and the rarities, but this is definitely one that stood out to me this time. Call of Duty Black Ops. You may think, what's so amazing about that? Well, this is a sealed copy, and to my eyes, I think this is a genuine seal. I know it hasn't got the tear across the middle, but let me know. I'm not the biggest expert. I don't really collect sealed games, but if I can pick them up for £1, then you know I'm going to grab them for £1. But the final game we have here to add to the collection this time is Metal Gear Rising. I could have swore I had this game in the collection. Again, this is one of those Xbox 360 games that is sneaking up in value. This one is up to £10 now in CX, so picking it up for £1 at a charity shop is an absolute find. You would have thought that would have been all my luck in the charity shop that day, but I thought, you know what, I'll push my luck, I'll go through the bookshelf. It's normally full of like old PC games, Wii shovelware and DVDs, but this is the thing with charity shops. If you dig deep enough, you never know when you're going to strike gold. So, a couple of Wii games, these were all £1 once again to add to my collection. Shaun White's Skateboarding, which looks quite fun on a Wii because you can actually use the Wii board, which I think could be super duper cool, so let me know if you've ever tried that one before. Massive skateboarding fan, game-wise, can't skate to save my life, so to pick this up for £1, it's just a cool one to add to my Wii collection. Next up, a game I've never heard of before, SSX Blur. I presume this is like an exclusive SSX game on the Wii. Like, again, surprisingly, this one you cannot use the Wii balance board, which is quite surprising, but let me know if you've played SSX Blur. You saw I picked up the Alvin and the Chipmunks game, and also this game, Shrek's Carnival Craze Party Game. That's because some of these weird kids games on the Wii can be worth a decent amount. I think this one only trades in for about £3, but I will keep it for the collection because at the end of the day, I'm a game collector. But it just goes to show it's some of these more obscure games that you need to keep an eye out for. But when it comes to obscure games, this game, Ju-On The Grudge. I had no idea what this game was, but I know as a general rule, horror games hold their value, but this game looks absolutely incredible. I picked this up for £1, and this must be a fairly rare game. With CX prices, this must be a hard one to get hold of. The temptation to flip this into CX is real, but this looks like a really, really cool game. I'm always looking for those different games, those kind of games that break the mould, and a horror game on the Wii, for me, for £1 to find in 2023, is an absolute gold strike. There we have it then, folks. It just goes to show you never know what you're going to find when you go charity shop hunting. I know it is a tough grind, but this is the thing. You got to just keep going, just keep carrying on, keep the faith, keep hunting, as you never know when that big find is round the corner. But let me know in the comments down below, what is your best find this year in a charity shop? So many people say charity shop hunting is dead, but trust me, it is alive and well. It's just all about being in the right place at the right time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. As always, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See y'all soon.